Hello, and thank you for joining us for another Leaders of Valor podcast. I'm so happy to have you join us today. This is not our normal day for filming the podcast, but we know we have holidays coming up and there's so much going on around us. But I just want to take a few minutes to talk about something that we'll be going into. We all know the holiday season is coming next week. I can't believe it's already here, but there's so much that we have going on as a people right now in the world around us. There are humans everywhere who are hurting and having difficult situations. There are torn countries and so much going on. But I wanted to talk about what we have to be thankful for and grateful for. And I want to, first of all, as always, invite Holy Spirit in so that what God wants is what's portrayed. He is seen and heard, not us. But hopefully, this will be a reflective moment so that we can focus on what we should focus on and be grateful for what we have in this very moment. Not what we're going to get in the future, not where we want to be, but where we are right now. And that is the important thing that sometimes in the hustle and bustle and everything that goes on in life, we sometimes forget or overlook the blessings that we have in front of us. So, um, again, I want to invite you, if you do not have it, you must download the YouVersion Bible app. It comes in various translations, numerous languages, um, millions and millions of Bible plans on there for people who want to study deeper, not just the Bible, but also study Bible plans that'll help us apply what we're learning and studying to our lives. I think that's very important, especially in today's world where things can be mistranslated and misconstrued. It's always good to get more input if we can from those verses so that we get a clear understanding, not just what other people are telling us. All right. So, today again, I want to talk about being grateful and showing gratitude for all that we have. Uh, Everything from the air we breathe, even though it's not the cleanest in all areas of the United States, right? It's cleaner than in many places around the world. And we sometimes take those things for granted. We have clean running water here, even though light bills are high right now. But we take that for granted and we don't realize how blessed we are and how fortunate we are as compared with others around the world. So take a moment and think of all the things that you have that we sometimes overlook or we relegate to just daily living in the human experience. But all of those things are a part of our story and they are a blessing given down from God. So we have to show gratitude for those things. When I think about the holiday where we all come together and we give thanks for family and friends and all that we have, really think about that. Are we only grateful when things are going our way? Are we only grateful when we have certain blessings at work, or we're being promoted, or we're being seen and acknowledged by others? And do we pout and sit in the corner when those things aren't going on? Do we feel we're blessed when our kid gets entrance into the school of his or her choice, full scholarship? Um, yes, that's absolutely a blessing. But also, what about waking up this morning and being able to use your eyes? What about waking up this morning and being able to use your mouth, your tongue? Breathe without the assistance of a medical device. What about being able to walk around? You went to bed last night, you woke up, and thank God nothing major happened. That is something to be grateful for. There are so many, and I have a good friend of mine who went to bed one night, woke up the next day, and she suffered a stroke in the middle of the night. And she went from having uh, perfect speech to slurred speech and showing signs of that stroke. And all I could think was, thank God that it wasn't worse. She can still walk around and move and use her limbs, even though she may not be as fast as she was. She can still get around and use her body, without assistive devices. Her brain still works perfectly. But just think if that damage wouldn't have been contained to that one little area. We have so much, even in the trials, to be thankful for. And I want to remind all of us to focus on those things as we go into the holiday week that's coming up next week, the beginning of the holidays. For many people, it's a stressful time because it's all about pleasing others and it's such a rush and everybody has to have gifts and there's a lot of cooking and cleaning and hosting and all this stuff that goes on. It can be very stressful, but even in those moments, be grateful that we have the funds needed to go out and purchase those food items, that we have lights, that we have water, that we can invite family over to come and sit with us for a few hours and enjoy the holiday with us. Be grateful and thankful that you have family, period, who want to be bothered with you, who want to come over and spend time with you in those moments. There are many in our world who do not have any of that. They don't have someone they could call and talk to. They don't have someone who's going to come over for the holidays. They have nowhere to go for the holidays. There are people who are out on the streets right now who have no out. It's just another day to them unless somebody drops by and shows kindness to them. They don't know if they'll even eat that day. So all of these things that we have to be grateful for, we want to remember those. As far as your home life, if your kids left home yesterday, your husband or your wife, your friends, your loved ones, your neighbors, if you all left home yesterday and you arrived back safely, that in and of itself is something to be grateful for, especially in this world that we live in. There's so much hatred and evil and negativity out there. So remember to be grateful that your kids went to school yesterday and they came home in one piece without somebody trying to gun them down or something silly and evil. So many have been affected by that in our own country. Um, there's no loss of the mass shootings, and almost daily you're hearing of another incident that happened at the senseless hand of somebody who basically wants to promote evil and hatred in the world. But if you were not a victim to that, if you don't know somebody who fell victim to that, and even if you do and they made it out of it safely, be thankful for that. Everyone doesn't have that story. I know people who were here last year, young people, I'm talking teenagers, 20 somethings, 30 somethings, 40 somethings, 50 somethings, who were going about their business and either were senselessly gunned down, um, or on the flip side of that, they may have had an issue, a medical issue that caused them to no longer be here. I lost a very, very, very good friend and former coworker of mine about a month ago, and it's just so weird to see how quickly life can change. In a moment, life can change, and you can be uprooted, and your family can be divided or put in sorrowful situations, or you could be mourning the loss of someone that you love. So let's not take all that for granted. Every day that we are given life, every day, even if it may not be 100% the life that you want, you are blessed. We are blessed. Even though our bank accounts may not look the way we want or need them to, we are blessed. Even though we may have so many tasks to do before the holiday comes in, the fact that we're here to celebrate the holidays is a blessing in and of itself. Think back a couple of years ago to the height of the pandemic when so many hundreds of thousands of people died. And I'm talking people who were healthy, some who were not. The disease kind of had no name on it, right? It didn't have a preference over who it chose to affect. There are some who are still living with the after effects of that pandemic. I know people who ran marathons prior to the pandemic who can hardly walk to the mailbox outside their house on the curb now. So be grateful for what you have. Paul, in the book of Philippians, he talks about how in everything we should give thanks. He knows how to live with a lot, and he could make it on very little, because he is able to do all things through Christ who strengthens him. And I think about that often because when we're in a world where we just want everything to go perfectly. We sometimes treat God like he's a genie in the bottle. If we don't get it our way, then I don't believe in God. That's foolishness. That's downright disrespect. Let's just put it out there. He's not your genie. He's not standing behind you saying, yes, sir, no, sir. That's not what it's about. We are here to serve him, not the other way around. He has promised us that he will give us what we need and some of what we want. But even if he gives us nothing else but the ability to be able to speak every day, to be able to breathe every day, that's a blessing that many don't have. From my background in healthcare, where I've worked with patients who were on ventilators, patients who couldn't respond to me, patients who couldn't move, patients who couldn't clean themselves, patients who couldn't stand up, patients who couldn't feed themselves, patients who couldn't go to the bathroom on their own. Trust me, everything we have, if your body is intact, even if it hurts sometimes, be grateful that you are able to feel that hurt. I had a patient, a cancer patient, once who always had a positive mindset. And in the moment, you'd look at that patient and be like, for real? What's wrong with you? Why? Why is it that you're so positive? But she said, well, I'm here another day. I'm able to see my kids. And I think she had teenagers at the time. She was able to bring them in and they were able to sit and spend time with her. And she said, I know of so many, my own parents included, who didn't get to my age. They did not do as well as I'm doing with this diagnosis. So I'm grateful for that. And it makes you take a step back. When God allows you, and it is his doing, he's very, very intentional about what he does and when he does it. I may have been feeling, a little upset that day because of who knows what. But when you encounter people like that who are going to say God is God anyway, the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away, blessed be the name of the Lord, as Job did. When you encounter those kind of people, you can't feel anything but remorse for the way you were feeling prior to that encounter. And I think God is very intentional in putting people in our paths who show us in a split second, guess what? You have so much to be grateful for. And I'll never forget those stories of patients who had so much less than I had at the time. I was up walking around and they couldn't move. I had to pick them up and put them in wheelchairs or turn them from side to side to clean their bottoms. Yet they were still positive in those moments. And when I think about one patient, and this guy was actually on Oprah years and years ago. This was when I was still in New Orleans over 20 years ago. But there was a patient who he didn't do well. He coded or stopped breathing, heart stopped pumping. We had to code him, and because he was not breathing for so long, we had to put him on certain medications and breathing machines. Well, some of the medications caused him to lose some of his limbs. It cut off circulation to some of his limbs, and he had to have both arms and both legs amputated. And when I encountered this patient for the first time, I was expecting somebody very negative, very nasty, somebody who was woe is me, somebody, and rightfully so, somebody who would make the day difficult for me. Now, forget that it was very difficult for him. I was like, oh, this is going to be a rough patient. We're going to have this situation all day. Wrong. I walked into this patient's room, and he was like, hey, how you doing? And the report I gotten from the previous nurses was he's very demanding. He liked things a certain way, and that didn't move me here or there because I'm thinking, we stripped him of everything else. He doesn't have his independence anymore. He's laid up, and we have to care for him. I'll align his trinkets on the dresser the way he wants them, or his food on his bedside tray the way he wants it. That ain't a problem. That's pretty much all he has at this point to control. So I walked in his room, and lo and behold, he was smiling, and I was taken aback. I don't even know if I answered when he said, hi, how you doing? And what's your name? And I remember telling him my name, but I know I had a look on my face like, this is not what I expected. But he was so positive. One of the patients who everyone loved talking to. And yes, he wanted things a certain way and he had to have things angled just right. And I'm like, okay, that isn't a problem for me. Um, but to look at his example, and I actually asked him after having him, he stayed with us for a long time before he moved to the rehab unit, the rehabilitation unit for physical therapy and occupational therapy. And he was inpatient there for months. Um, but I remember asking him, how are you so positive with all that you've lost? He's like, well, you know what? Life is life. And I could look at it as a negative, or I can say, you know what? I'm still here to be able to tell my story. And I can't remember if this was before or after he'd done an interview with Oprah years and years and years ago. But I remember watching that episode and thinking, amazing, amazing demeanor and attitude after all he'd been through. And his response was always, you know what? I'm still here. I could mourn and cry and weep and holler and get depressed over it, but guess what? It's not going to make my legs come back. My arms aren't going to come back because of my negative attitude. So I might as well make the best of it. How many of us have that attitude? I know for me personally, somebody can cut me off in traffic and make me 10 minutes late, and I'm like, oh, of course things are going that way today. But how many of us actually stop and think, well, at least I have a car to sit in traffic with. At least I'm not on empty. I have gas so that this backup isn't going to be a life or death or detrimental situation for me. I will still make it to my destination regardless of what I feel has come to block my way. Or do we go the other route and we pout and complain and say some unsavory words because of the situation at hand? When we're turned down for promotion, do we get to the point where we're constantly complaining and we stop giving our best? If we get in an argument with somebody at work, or if our managers or our supervisors or whomever don't take our ideas that we came up with, or they downgrade our input or our contributions to what we're doing, how do we respond to that? How do we react to that? Do we get in a negative and, well, don't ask me to do anything else? Or do we keep moving forward in that moment? When we get in situations where our kids aren't doing, they made us upset over something they did or did not do. You ask your child to put the trash out. He didn't do it, but he's on TikTok all day when he should have been doing something around the house. Do we get upset and say, you know what? This is why I should have stayed single and not had kids? Or do we say, you know what? I'm grateful for the kids, even though they have hard heads sometimes. I'm grateful for the opportunity to influence these young people that God has entrusted to me so that they can go out and do a great work for Him. What is our attitude? What's our heart posture? Are we constantly grateful? Do we present with an attitude of gratitude? Or do we just have an attitude of attitude? How do we present? I often have to say, when God does something for us, there is no amount of gratitude that could even match His generosity. There's nothing we could say that's even worthy of giving Him as a gratitude of praise in that moment. But we do our best, and because we're human, and He knows this, He allows us a pass, and He's so gracious that He accepts what we do and what we say and how we praise, even though it's worthless. We know that He's very grateful and He's accepting of what we do to thank Him for all He does. Even though there are moments where we're negative, we can be ungrateful, we can be, woe is me, God is still there saying, you know what? I still love you because you are mine. And regardless of whether or not you see it here, I know you're going to see it in a moment. When things don't go well for us, I can tell you, there have been times when I put in for positions that would have promoted me that God blocked. Yes, God blocked them. Everything is not the devil blocking us from what we think we should have. But God, in His infinite wisdom, His sovereignty, He's all knowing. He knows what's best for us, even though we can't see it, and even though we may not buy into it at the moment. He knows because he created us. Just like Apple, and Samsung and Microsoft, they know what's best for the products they make, right? So why wouldn't God know what's best for those of us he has created? You're not going to go to Samsung and ask them what's best for the iPhone that you have. That would be dumb. You're not going to go to somebody who put your car together, the manufacturer of your car, and ask them about a car you don't own of a different brand or make or model. What good is that going to do? Hey, I have a 2022 Toyota Camry, but I'm going to ask you about this 2001 Toyota Avalon. Okay. Um, I can tell you how that car works, but it's not what works best for your situation. And that's what God does. And we should be grateful for that. He's blocked me from a lot of things that, yes, I probably would have done well in, and I probably would have met my needs in that moment. But He had something else for me, something bigger, something better. In relationships, if you feel that God has blocked you from this, or he caused this relationship to end, maybe so. But it's only because he knew he had a lot better for you. He'll never do something for you that's going to put you in a lesser situation. He's only going to promote you. So while it may feel like you're getting the short end of the stick now, what he's doing for you now is going to bring you to a greater there. So therefore, be grateful. As Paul says, in all things, give thanks. And as James says, count it all joy, even when we think we're having trials that are going to take us out. God knows that he's going to work everything together for our good so that we can live our best lives here on earth. Yes, he wants us to be happy here on earth. I know as Christians, sometimes we assume that our happiness is only going to come, or that joy is only going to come when we leave this earth, when we go to heaven, when God comes back for us. Yes, when Jesus returns, absolutely, there's nothing that could possibly compare to what his Father's will to be done. He wants us to live in abundance here. Jesus said he came to give life and give it more abundantly, which means he's not going to do anything that's going to may hurt. We're human, so it may get us down for a while. But in years to come, in days to come, in weeks to come, in months to come, you may see why he allowed that door to close and others to open. So even when things are not going the way you planned, and life usually does not, anybody who's lived life for any length of time knows that life doesn't always do what we want it to do. It doesn't always turn out the way we wish for it to turn out. Life be life in sometimes. And that's okay, because even in the middle of life, God is there. And he's going to ensure that we have what we need to fulfill his purpose, not ours, his purpose for us on this earth. So everything he gives to you, everything he allows, everything he blocks is for our good. So as we go into this holiday season, don't get caught up in the buying and the spending and the what I'm going to get and the stress of the holiday season. Don't get caught up in that. There are things we want to do for our friends and our family because we love them. Absolutely. Do that. But if it gets to the point where it's overwhelming, just step back and remember It's not about the giving and the getting. It's about the only gift that we could never, ever purchase and we could never repay him for, and that's the life of Jesus Christ and the purchasing of our salvation with his blood. So if you're grateful for nothing else, be grateful for that in and of itself as we go into next week. I want to remind you all to have a safe holiday. Be sure to thank those, if there are players in your life who do for you, who do for your family, who do for you at work, who do for you in your neighborhood. Be grateful for that. Everybody doesn't have that. Don't take that for granted. It could be gone tomorrow. Be grateful for those who God have allowed you to be blessed with, who care about you, who love you, who check on you religiously, who will go to the store for you, who will take care of your kids for you, who will show you love when you've had a bad day at work, who will be there and support you and hold you when you don't get the promotion or when you don't get accepted to the school that you want to be in. God has specifically aligned people and put people in your life that are to design your path with you. They are there to walk it with you. They are there to live out your purpose with you, and they are to allow you the tools through their gifting to help you as you go along this journey. God doesn't do trash. He doesn't put people in your life by happenstance or a mistake, or people who are just going to cause you trouble without a lesson in it. There's always a reason behind every person being in your life, and there's always a purpose behind everything that God allows. So remember, don't take that for granted. Take those people in your life who are there um, to support you and to nurture you, and just be there to listen when you need it. Don't take them for granted. Hold them in high esteem and give thanks for them and to them for being just that. It's not just the person who bought you a car, not just the person who pays your bills, not just the person who gave you the promotion, but the people who are there even when things aren't going your way. When you need help here and there, when you need a ride to the store, when you need somebody who can come over, who listen and give you Kleenex tissues while you cry, because life is happening all around you. Be grateful for those people. Do not take them for granted. Do not abuse them. Do not misuse them, because they could be gone. God could remove them from your lives today or tomorrow, and then you'll see how blessed you were to have them in the first place. So if you work in an organization where you have team members who constantly go above and beyond, be a leader of valor. Thank those individuals, not with anything in mind, and don't add a but to it. We can thank you for doing that yesterday, but I think you need to brush up on. No, Tim Ross, I learned this from him. He said, and I believe he may have learned it from somebody else. He said, I'm learning to give thanks and be grateful and not use the buts, but use the ands in life. You know, so we talk about, you do well at this, but how about you do well at this, and thank you so much for doing that, and this is an area where I would love to help you succeed. That's much more positive than you do great here, but that but just canceled out everything else we just said, right? So go to those people who help you, who are there for you, who nurture you, who support you unendingly and selflessly every day. Those individuals are the people that you give thanks to. Nobody has to do anything for you. Nobody has to be there to listen to you. Nobody has to be there to support you. Nobody has to be there to help you. Nobody has to be there to be your friend. Nobody has to be there to be your confidant. Nobody has to listen to you boo-hoo all the time. If you are blessed with even one person who does that, be grateful for them. Reach out to them this holiday season and say, you know what? I'm just grateful for the gift that you are. No strings attached. No, also, can you do this for me? None of that. Can you pick this up for me? None of that. Can you watch my dog? None of that. Can you take care of my kids? None of that. I'm just grateful for you. Or even better, what can I do for you? Let me do something to show you my gratitude. So think about that. Also, as we go into this holiday season, think about all those who are hurting. I know so many who have lost children this year, who have lost parents, who have lost loved ones who are in their teens, in their 20s, in their 30s, their 40s, young people whose lives were cut short. So this is going to be a rough holiday season for many. Think of those overseas who are going through difficult situations in war-torn countries, those who are in war-torn territories, those who can't walk out their front door without fear of being shot or um, walking into a landmine or a trap, or there's so much going on around us. Remember those individuals and say a prayer for those who are in need this holiday season. So many have lost jobs. So many have had to give jobs up because of dire circumstances and situations, health issues that cause them to have to quit their jobs. So just be grateful and also say a prayer for those who may be less blessed than we are as we enter this holiday season. And I want to thank you for joining me today. I pray that you have a safe and happy, and most importantly, a grateful, not only holiday that's coming up next week, but life, period. We should wake up every morning with gratitude. And one of the things that I want to leave with you, I started doing this a couple of months back. There are certain days out of the week, usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, when I pray, when I communicate with God, I don't bring this long laundry list of what I need and how I need you to show up. And it's ultimately a list of thanks, things I'm thankful for. Now, thank you that I'm able to even approach your throne of grace as somebody who's not worthy to even stand in front of you and to communicate with you. I thank you for that. So try that. Let's resolve to live in this atmosphere of thanks in a world where it's all about me, and give me, and do for me, and people who are just not grateful for not only what God does for you, but for what you may do for you, for them. You may not ever hear a thank you from some people because we're in this culture of entitlement, and unfortunately, that's the world in which we live. The longer we stay away from God and away from the path He wants us to be on, the more we're going to encounter people like that and situations like that. But it is what it is. For us, for me and you, for leaders of valor, we're going to go a different way. We are going to be grateful for every little thing that we get, everything that He has given us, including breath, our hearts beating, our mind working, our limbs working, all of that we need to be grateful for each and every day. So even if it's once a day, whether it's morning when you communicate with God or evening, take the time out to give thanks and to spend that time simply saying thank you for all that He's done and doors that He's opened for you. Don't delve into, and I know you're going to do this, and I also need this. Focus on the thank you. That gratitude is what makes heaven rejoice. So live in that mindset as we go into this holiday weekend, this holiday week. I know people are off school, off from work. A lot of people will be traveling. Have safe travels. And we wish you the best as we enter this holiday season stress-free and with the right mindset. It's not about us, it's about God. So thank you so much for joining us today. I pray blessings on you and your family. And I pray that Holy Spirit has reached you where you are and that you continue to live as a leader of valor. Thank you so much. Be blessed and remember to be a blessing to someone else.